Hey guys, welcome back to Rossoneri TV. I'm Gio and I'm here for the latest AC Milan news and rumors recapping all the latest from AC Milan throughout the week. And today is obviously a very special day because Milan have officially completed their 6th signing of the summer. Of course, Hakan Çalhanoğlu has joined the club, and I'm very happy about this addition. Of course, as we all know, or at least the majority of people know, he's a free kick set piece specialist. He's one of the best free kick specialists in Europe, if not in the world. And I actually read a statistic earlier today that I think he has the most free kick goals in Europe for a couple of years now. So that is very good and encouraging to see. It's not like we didn't have good set piece takers. However, we never really had a true specialist. The last one I can remember is, of course, Andrea Pirlo, but that goes back a long time ago. So I'm very happy that he has joined the club. Of course, he's currently undergoing his medicals in Milan as we speak. And everything should be completed in a matter of a few hours, and afterwards he will be signing his contract, which, by the way, it will be a 4-year contract worth 2.5 million euros per season. In terms of the transfer fee for the deal to Bayer Leverkusen, it's 20 million euros plus 4 million on bonuses. So I think it's a pretty fair price for this player. Like I said, a guy that's very versatile, could play in different positions, mostly as an attacking midfielder, but could also play as a winger and even as a secondary striker, like we have seen him do several times at his previous club. There's only one thing that I wanted to talk a bit about concerning this player, and he did play last season, but he was actually involved in some sort of scandal back in February, and due to this, he hasn't been playing in a very long time since February. So it's about 5 months now that he hasn't played in an official match, and the reason for this was because he broke some sort of contract with the governing board of FIFA as he extended his deal back in 2011 with one of his previous clubs, while also receiving funds from another club, and you cannot have that happening. Therefore, FIFA investigated the whole situation. Might have not been really him directly the problem, but you know, he was involved in this and he was handed this ban. It wasn't for any disciplinary action, but it was just he was just, you know, involved in this whole situation, which unfortunately led to a 4-month ban. But he is back. He is a young player, 23 years old. I think he has a great future ahead of him. He's already playing at top levels in the Bundesliga, and I think he could do very good at Milan as well. I'm just very impressed and very happy that Milan is working hard to make these signings and, you know, actually getting the work done, because like we had seen in previous years, Milan always struggled to make these signings, mostly for financial reasons. But what really pissed me off mostly was that Milan kept leading their fans on and on and on about these transfers that they would get eventually, but in the end they would never get any players, or would just be free transfers. Well, the transfer window officially opened yesterday on July the 1st, and we have already 6 players under our belt. So very happy with how things are going this summer at Milan. It shows that the direction, the staff, the management all want something positive for the club for this season. So I'm very, very happy about this. And there's also another news coming in for another player that should be making his arrival to Milan next week. And of course, I'm speaking about Conti, the Atalanta fullback. This guy, I've been speaking about him for many weeks now, and he just took part in the Euro U21 with the Azzurrini, and finally that tournament is done, and Milan is really looking to sign this guy. They have been in contact with his agent, with Atalanta, in the past week, and it appears to be that he could be going he could be having his medicals on Tuesday morning already, and that'll be a very positive thing to see if that's true. We will obviously know in the next hours, I guess, if we're actually gonna be seeing Andrea Conti at Milanello on Tuesday morning, but this should be the case. The player wants to move to Milan. He has said it, he has mentioned it several times over the past few weeks, and it seems like this deal is very likely to go through as well, and he will become Milan's 7th signing this season. So already very good to see all these things. Conti is a very promising fullback, and I've said it over and over in these past episodes. He's a guy that pretty much, I think, he has a very big future, not only in the Serie A, but also for the Azzurri, because this guy could become one of those fullbacks that not only rejuvenates the role, but also adds to that dynamic that I personally believe is kind of lacking, not only at Milan, but also in the Azzurri in terms of fullbacks. But yeah, he's pretty much going to be competing with Abate on the right side, and I think that he should be the starter, and Abate could potentially be his substitute, but everything will, of course, remain to be seen, as the coach will have to make his evaluations and so forth. But it's very good that Milan, like I said, are not only thinking about strengthening one role, but they're looking overall at a lot of things. And if we do get Conti, it will be already the 3rd signing of the offseason, of the transfer window for the defense, of course, after Ricardo Rodriguez and Musacchio. And I think the defense, like I said many times, was one of the departments that was probably the weakest at Milan, because in the midfield, yes, we did have problems, but I think the defense at Milan wasn't always the best. And you know, it's good to see that Milan are finally taking steps forward to make signings and clear up those mistakes and fix them potentially with these younger solutions. Moving on, I wanted to speak about Donnarumma, because of course everyone is still wanting and waiting actually to see what is going to happen with Donnarumma, and it seems that more and more in these past few days he has been linked to stay at Milan, and it seems like he's pushing for this renewal now. There were a few meetings between his family and Milan over the weekend, and I think Donnarumma has pretty much expressed, even to his agent Mino Raiola, that he does want to remain at the club. And of course Milan will be giving Donnarumma 50 million euros on wages in the next 5 years. Of course, let's not forget that this is the gross wages. That means that he's not going to be actually making 50 million, but he will be making half of that net. So he's going to be making 5 million euros a season for the next 5 years, which is honestly a very good amount of money for such a young player. So obviously we have to wait in the next couple of days, but it appears to be that Donnarumma and Raiola will accept this offer, and this should be hopefully completed in the next week, because now the Euro, like I said before with Conti, the Euro is done, and right now these two players, Donnarumma and Conti, have to think about where they will be playing this season, their future. And really Milan was waiting for the Euro to finish to even deal with these players, and now that it is done, we should be expecting developments, especially next week, for both Conti and Donnarumma. Finally, I wanted to speak about Vangioni, because of course he's very likely to leave the club, and he wants to return to River Plate. Of course, the club where we originally got him from for free, he wants to return to that club. Vangioni, let's be honest with everyone, he's not going to be getting playing time this season. There's healthy competition ahead of him, and now that Ricardo Rodriguez is playing on that left side and he has come in, Vangioni will have to deal with him, Antonelli, and De Sciglio. And to be honest with you, it's not looking good for Vangioni. He's not going to be getting the playing time that he obviously wants, and he needs to move elsewhere. So I think a move back to River Plate, the club that he loves, would be the best solution for him, the ideal solution. He's done good things at Milan for the time that he played this season. Personally, I wasn't expecting much from him because, of course, he was brought in a state where he wasn't really expected to give it his all. He was there to replace Antonelli, and out of nowhere, he had to come in on the field and play consecutive matches without actually, being fully integrated in the club just yet. And I think he did a decent job. I liked how he was moving forward. But then again, we don't really need Vanjoni now that Ricardo Rodriguez came in, and we still have De Sciglio and Antonelli at our disposal. Even though De Sciglio could probably leave, we still have a guy like Antonelli, which to me, before the arrival of Rodriguez, I was valuing him as the best left back we had. So we'll see exactly the situation with Vanjoni, but it really appears to be that he's on his way out back to River Plate. So that's pretty much the players that I wanted to mention today. I'm really, like I said, once again, I'm very, very happy about Calhanoglu. I think he's a very interesting player. I've seen him play a couple of times. He's also a Turkish international. And he's a very interesting player. Very, very interesting. And I'm honestly curious not only to see him, but to see all the Milan players, all the signings that we made. I want to see how they could perform in the upcoming season. And this month is really going to be a very interesting month, of course, because July, like I said before, is the start of the transfer window. Then the players will actually be back at Milanello for physical tests and their first official training sessions next week, if I'm not mistaken. After that, of course, on July 14th, we have the Europa League third qualification round draw, where we will find out who we will be playing in that qualifying round, which will be taking place, by the way, on July 27th and August the 3rd. So it is a very, very busy month. We also have a preseason tour in China that will be taking place over the weekend of the 21st from the 24th to the 24th of July, if I'm not mistaken. So very busy month, lots of things to cover, and of course we will be covering all of this at Rossoneri TV. And there's also reports just coming in that Conti might actually be taking his medicals tomorrow. So really, it's very, very, very likely now that Conti is set to join Milan and become the seventh signing of the summer. Let's get into your questions. I will be answering your questions and comments for the next 5 to 10 minutes here. Andy Caruana says, is Suso being sold? Suso has mentioned over the past few days that he actually wants to stay at Milan. Of course, that is his priority. Let's not forget that also Bonaventura has returned. He has already completed some physical tests, and he's really ready to get back into action. So if we could add and keep Suso at the team, along with all the signings that we made, I think we really have a strong squad going into next season. Of course, we need to also work on depth, because I believe that besides having a strong lineup, we also need a strong bench, players that could come on to replace others whenever there's injuries or fatigue and so forth. So Suso, I think he's going to remain. I think he's going to stay. He still has a contract until 2018, if I'm not mistaken. It's not like his contract has expired. So technically, he's still a Milan player, actually until 2019. So like his agent, I remember him saying there's actually no rush, because he still has 2 years left on his contract. And I think, he's set to remain, especially if we're going to be playing a 4-3-3 on that right wing. He has shown to be so instrumental for Milan over last season with so many assists. And now, you know, he's going to have some new teammates, better teammates around him. So I'm very, very curious to see what the future for Suso could look like at Milan. So yes, I do believe he's going to stay. I don't think he's going to leave. David Maloney says, with Bia and Kalinic, we would be a certainty for the Champions League. Kalinic, it actually appears to be that we are moving away from the player because Fiorentina's demands are just too high at the moment. They want 30 million, and Milan is not actually interested in getting, or at least paying, that amount of money for Kalinic. And with all due respect to him, I don't really think he's worth 30 million euros for a 30-year-old that's, you know, not really world class. I would actually prefer spending maybe 10 million more and getting a younger, more established option up there. Even though Kalinic, yes, he's familiar with the Serie A, maybe we could do better, and I'm pretty sure we could. So it's not something that we should break our head over if we are not able to get him. As for Bia, same thing goes. I think there's currently some issues with the Lazio president, Lotito. He doesn't really want to give him up so fast, or at least for an affordable price than Milan. So we're going to have to see about those players. But right now, it appears to be that the only player that we will be going for sure after, or at least signing in the upcoming week, is going to be Conti. And I think after Conti, Fassone and Mirabelli are going to take a bit of a breather, because it's going to be 7 signings in about a month, which is absolutely crazy. So, you know, they're going to take a bit of a breather, and afterwards, possibly, you know, they're going to keep working for sure. But I think the priority at the moment is signing Conti, and most importantly, getting that contract renewal for Donnarumma. So we're going to have to see that. Why says, I want to see Mati Fernandez and Paslic back at Milan. I think it's pretty unlikely that we will be seeing those two guys next season. Paslic maybe, but I really don't think so for Mati Fernandez. Dwayne says, Gio, Inter are sold players, so the FFP won't really bother them. But for Milan, do you think this can be a problem since we have yet to sell players? Thoughts? Actually, very interesting comment there, because Milan, I've been trying to work with UEFA regarding this actual problem, and they have presented UEFA a plan, a financial plan of what their intentions are over the next few years. They're waiting to actually get this plan approved by UEFA, and I actually think they fixed this this plan. They took it back. They actually revoked it or took it back and edited it, because now they wanted to mention a few more things regarding this financial plan. So I don't think it's a major issue. I mean, Fassone and Mirabelli are people that have been in this you know, this industry, I guess you could say, for such a long time that they know exactly how things are gonna work. So you know, they have to obviously follow the regulations of UEFA, but personally, I don't think it should be a problem. And if they do actually send a very, you know, concrete plan to UEFA on how they're gonna manage and actually distribute their financial decisions over the next years, it shouldn't be a problem. I don't think it should be a problem. Lagarto27 says, hey Gio, long time no see. By the players that Milan has bought, do you think we will actually qualify to the Champions League? I even see it difficult for us to get a good chemistry between them this year. I think, honestly, at the moment, I know it's very premature for me to say this, but this is a team that if they don't actually end in the top 4 this year, it will be a big disappointment, because with all the money that has been invested and all the money that has been put into these players, I think Milan has already spent about 130 million or something like that. You know, certainly when you make big investments like that and you're expecting to actually reach the top 4, let's not forget that starting from next season, the top 4 will qualify directly to the Champions League group stages for the following season. So there's absolutely no excuse as to why Milan cannot achieve that. I think that we have a way stronger team than previous years, but always the competition in the Serie A is very, very hard. There's always teams out there that will make you run for your money, even lower table teams. So what's important, I think, is that we made these signings very early on, because like I was saying to a few people the other day, over the past few years, Milan has actually delayed and delayed and delayed making signings until the last few weeks of August, if you guys recall. And these signings were mostly free transfers on top of it, signings that, weren't really made for the system that Milan wanted to play. They weren't players that were even looked at in order to fill a certain role on the team. They were just last minute options, the best options they could have get for a low fee or a free transfer. Milan, on the other hand, this year, they're actually making signings. They're actually getting these players early on. Already, it's July 2nd today, and we have already 6 signings under our belt. Lots and lots of time for these players to play with each other and actually build that chemistry, which will see them hopefully prove it on the field once the season starts in August. What I'm trying to say here is that they actually have time to build that chemistry now and, get to know each other way more, rather than the previous years where Milan was unfortunately forced, or at least these players were unfortunately forced to adapt to the team as soon as possible, right before the season started, or actually during the season, because they were signed so late in the transfer window. So I think that, these players could definitely have enough time to gel together. And when there's players that have quality in them, it honestly doesn't take much to adapt to the team. In January, for example, when transfers are made, these players are expected to adapt to the team as fast as possible. But nowadays, at least for now, the situation is that everyone will arrive at the training camp at the same time. No one will have an advantage over another in terms of preparations. So everyone should be on the same page by the time the third qualifying round for the Europa League starts, or the actual season starts. One or two more questions. A lot of people are asking me my favorite transfer so far. If I would probably have to pick one, I would have to go with Andre Silva. I'm actually very, very curious to see this guy play this year. Once again, the future of Portugal. Very, very young. He's capable of scoring lots of goals for their national team. He has scored, forgot how many, but the ratio in terms of the goals he scored to the games he played is absolutely insane. Many people are comparing him to the next Cristiano Ronaldo, and if that's the case, well, I think we're definitely in for a treat for next season. But if I had to pick one, I would definitely go for him. Also very, very curious about Kessie. Once again, one of the pillars for Atalanta last season, and I think that every signing that we made was made for a reason. A lot of people during the week, I've read comments on Twitter, even on Adamo's video that he made, they weren't happy concerning the signing of Borini. Personally, I think it's a pretty decent option considering the fact that he's going to be a third option striker. And, whenever we need a guy to play in those Coppa Italia games, because let's not forget, if we are actually going to qualify to the group stages of the Europa League, be prepared to see Milan play at least 2-3 times a week, way more frequently. And this is something that Milan is not used to, because it's been 3 years or something like that Milan hasn't had that in their schedule. So I think a guy like Borini will definitely ease the pain, or at least, ease the task for our starters, because he's still solid. I think he's still capable of doing things. Like I said, he could play in the Coppa Italia games. He could still be a substitute player to come on during games. He's not a bad option. Let's be honest. He's not a bad option. And for those of you that are saying, but wouldn't you prefer Lapadula to Borini? Most probably, yes. I would prefer Lapadula to Borini, because I've seen the way Lapadula works. He is a very hard worker. He is a guy that works very hard for the team and for himself. But let's be honest with each other, would he actually be willing to stay on the bench or play in a starting 11 team, in a team where he could actually be a starter and play 90 minutes in a consecutive fashion? And that he's not going to be getting at Milan. He knows it himself, and that is why he wants to move out. He wants to go to Genoa, for example, which should be happening soon. He's a great player, but like I said, what he wants is minutes, and at Milan, he's probably not going to be getting those minutes, because right now, let's not forget, we still have Back on the team, and with Andre Silva there, simply Lapadula will not be getting his minutes, and for him, it's not ideal to stay on the bench. Whereas for Borini, he actually doesn't mind. That's pretty much the situation between the two players, and why people are saying, why doesn't Milan just keep Lapadula? You also have to satisfy the player's demands, the player's needs. If the guy wants minutes, you cannot just keep him on the bench and just wait for him to come on. You guys have to actually understand that that scenario for the player. Yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to this AC Milan news recap. We will be having more videos in the next few days, so make sure you stay tuned to Rossoneri TV for all the latest AC Milan news and updates. Before I leave, I just wanted to give a shout out to one of my friends that's actually watching from Bisceglie right now, Dagde Mangiaculo. Thank you so much, bro, for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Always great to see family and friends from Italy tuned in to watch Rossoneri TV. So thank you guys once again for tuning in today. Don't forget to subscribe to Rossoneri TV to stay updated with everything going on at the club. And I'll see you guys soon. This has been Gio signing off. And as always, Forza Milan.